Yeah, that's right. I see the chat. I see y'all rocking. I see y'all coming. Hit that like button as you enter the building. You know what I'm saying? Hit that like button. Show your love. Show your support. You know what I'm saying? This that dope soul. This that new thing. Nobody don't know about it.
Salute, Knick family. Welcome to Lunchtime Live with Stephanie, aka Queen, your host, and Tony Crowe from Knicks and Bruises. Today we're talking. We're gonna do a little recap of the preseason, a little recap of Towns. I don't think I've talked to Tony about just his thoughts on the Towns trade after seeing him for the full preseason. We're gonna talk a little bit about the bench. There's been some changes, right? Shamet with the shoulder injury was waived by the Knicks. Precious hamstring injury is going to be out for a few weeks. What does that mean for our bench? We got a tough 10-game schedule coming right out of the gate, starting with Boston tomorrow night. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. Tony, how are you? Shout out to the chat, by the way.
I'm good, Queen. I survived your vacation. How was your vacation?
Man, Jamaica was good, and shout out to Knutsford that they little like Greyhound bus service almost like that just takes you around the country. And being that Jamaica isn't so big, I was able to fly into Kingston and take that bus for like 2 hours, 3 hours to Negril, Ocho Rios, Mandeville, and it was like $17, $22, something like that. And I was able to explore a good part of the country. The food was good. The company was good. Shout out to Barry, my brother from another mother. It was just great. It was a great time.
Nice. So I definitely had to check in on that because I didn't ask you. Yeah. But yeah, shout out to the chat. Yo, Black is time. We back. Lunchtime Live.
Yeah. So let's just start with the preseason. What have you seen that has you encouraged about going into the regular season, and what have you seen that makes you think, all right, we're gonna need a little more work on this?
Encouragement. Let's start there. Towns' presence on the floor opens up so much for Brunson. It makes me feel like he's gonna have another leap this year, and we said it after his first year. I'm like, yo, how much better? Remember that was a question. Like, yo, do you think he could get better? And then last year we seen him get better. I think it happens again. I don't know what Brunson's ceiling is because I think he's gonna take another leap, and so that's what I see. That's what stands out the most. Like, yeah, he's just the floor is open for him. He could do whatever he wants. And then it's just gonna be some a grind and figuring out everybody else figuring out their definitive roles. Yeah. I think OG has been another highlight for me. It feels like he knows what he's going to be doing defensively. It looks like he's more comfortable than ever. Offensively, the same, a little bit more aggressive. We've seen a game two performance. The game he got hurt, we've seen a game like that from him. And yeah, but I think it's going to be a slow process to kind of everybody figure out where they want to be and who they want to be.
Yeah. The same. I think I was encouraged again, like you said, by Cat's presence and what it does for not just Randall. Shout out to Randall. Not just Brunson, but our entire offense. Just OG and Mikal Bridges, the space they're gonna have to cut. And I wasn't surprised, but it was good to see Cat's passing, his passing ability. You can actually run inverted pick and rolls where he's the ball handler off the pick. And they did that in Minnesota. They would do big to big with Gobert, pick and rolls, and he was able to hit Gobert on the roll. And so not only is there space in the key, but when he has the ball, he can shoot it, he can put it on the floor, but also he can pass it to the cutters. And so it just really opens up our offense. I mean, we saw some of that with Hartenstein, but this is on a whole other level. So that's encouraging to see. I still think though that our offense is a work in progress. I think that just all of the options off of the Jalen Brunson, Karl Anthony Towns pick and roll, there's more options for us to exploit. I would like to see us run it more than we do run it. So I think the offense will be a work in progress, but I'm really, really encouraged by it. And if there's any concern, I think it's just that it's going to take some time, just overall, for
Hmm.
guys to get used to their roles. Josh Hart, Mikal Bridges, OG Anunoby, the Brunson Cat 2-man game that I just mentioned. It's just going to take. It's just going to take some time. We'll talk about the bench separately, but you know, you want to say it's going to take some time, and then you lose two key pieces, and now
Yeah.
you're gonna, it's really going to take some time. Just honing in on Towns himself. Um, just refresh my memory and the list the viewers' memory on how you felt about the trade, and now having seen him through a full preseason, do you feel a little better about it? What are you encouraged by? Do you have any concerns still?
Um, yeah, there's definitely concerns. Oh, I mean, we talked a little bit about it um off air. All right, let's just let the cat out the bag. For me, the biggest concern is like a not immediate, it's like a long-term thing. If things get shaky, you know what I mean? And the criticism comes because we know it will. You know what I mean? Like, how does Towns handle the pressure? You know what I mean? The New York fan base. You know what I mean? The media. You know what I mean? Like, because there's always a scapegoat, right?
Yeah.
So if we talked about the hierarchy of it, maybe we'll talk in depth later. But you know what I mean? If he becomes the guy that everybody is on, it could be bad. It could turn bad. It could turn ugly quick. So um yeah, that would be the big one.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, I think a lot of what I thought I about Cat I saw, and a lot of my concerns, I'm gonna have to wait until the season to see if they get worked out. I thought he would stretch the floor for us, and he has. I thought he would be a really good rebounder, and he has. And he has been. Um, my concerns was taking advantage of the smaller guys on the switches. So hopefully we'll see, that in the regular season. His decision making, not getting into foul trouble, which actually, um, if I'm not mistaken, has been okay. Um,
Yeah, but I think that's still the potential. You know what I mean? Like, he still made some dumb fouls. They just haven't been consecutive. You know what I mean?
right,
Like
right.
we've seen in the past. But my bad.
Yeah, no, 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 that's fine. So I'm still looking to see that. Can he stay on the floor? Um, his decision making, can he take advantage of the double team? And I've mentioned this before, not the double team, advantage of the mismatches, because a lot of times he'll shoot over as opposed to taking the smaller guy into the post. And I get it. When you're a really, really good shooter and you got somebody that's just coming to your waist, I'm a good shooter. I'm just gonna shoot over the top. But there's advantages for taking that guy into the post, potentially foul, picking up a foul and going to the line, and then also potentially drawing a double team and being able to create a shot for someone else. So uh, that jury is still out. Defensively, he's he's not a power player defensively. right? So these big guys, these big centers, bruising centers can kind of back him down. And it's important that he just puts his hand up and just allow them to shoot over the top as opposed to, fouling them, and what have you. And the coaching staff is going to have to figure out, if they're going to, bring a double team or whatever, if he's dealing with guys, you know, um, like Embiid. But I kind of like what I see. I think for me, I'm not looking at how is Cat the same or different from Randall, because they're different players. One is a power player, one is a finesse player, and that to me, the difference between power and finesse doesn't mean soft. Because to me, softness is about your mentality, not about your style of play, right? Um, but I'm looking at the team. How does the team function, with Cat at the center? And when Cat is at the top of the key with the ball and I look in that lane, you could drive a truck through it. You can drive a truck through it. So the ability to take advantage, like I said earlier, of the cuts and things like that, um, it's gonna get better as the season goes on.
If I could, because I don't, when we first pulled off the trade, I wasn't the happiest about it. I've been on record in the past, not only saying I didn't want Cat, but I thought he was the guy that at some point we was gonna go after. I always said if we do it, I'd rather be with Randall rather than for Randall. So that all being said, I did tell myself once the trade was done, you know what I mean. I'm going to wait and see. You know what I mean. And after seeing his presence and seeing the difference, everything is everything hasn't worked itself out yet. But just from what you see, like you said, the lane is open. It changes everything. Change the perspective of how teams play us. You know what I mean? And now it's about we had yet to see Mikal. We see Mikal now where he brings. So it's a new team. You know what I mean? So that's the way I'm looking at it. I can't just look at it from the perspective of what Cat brings, because it's not just Cat here. It's Mikal here. You know what I mean? It's a new situation. So I'm looking at it in its totality, not just from the trade perspective.
Right.
And so but yeah, I'm enthused. You know what I mean? Like I see a pathway for us to be, what some of these talking points are. One of the best, you know what I mean, starting fives in the league, one of the best teams in the league. You know what I mean? Yeah, we here, we making moves, and yeah.
Yeah. Talk to me about Mikal and OG. I know for myself, coming into the season, and this can still occur. I saw, OG as that kind of all around type player. And, regardless of how much money he was re-signed for, I didn't expect a lot of scoring out of him, just an all around player. And I thought Mikal Bridges would eventually be our third, you know, um, you know, third option. And all of that can still occur. Don't get me wrong. But I have to say, I've been really impressed with OG Anunoby in this preseason. Um, what we've seen offensively in the playoffs last year is continuing. He's still doing what he does on the offensive end, guarding 1.5 players.
Defensive end.
Defensively, yeah. Um, I'm really impressed with him. But just talk to me a little bit about Mikal and OG, what you've seen as far as their fit and just individually.
OG's, I feel like he's taking a step defensively. Like it looks like he is the defensive anchor. You know what I mean? Like of this team. He's the guy that I don't even know if his role is going to be on the best defender. I mean, the best offensive guy, but his how you say it, like you're saying, guarding 1.5 guys. You know what I mean? Like his ability to be the roam defender I think
Mhm.
that is where it looks like he's just taking a leap, because now he's defending the floor. You know what I mean? And it looks like Mikal might have the assignment, or even Josh Hart might have the assignment of guarding the best offensive player. And I like the way that looks with OG being able to kind of be the peripheral guy that's just looking at everything that's going on, and playing that help defense. And and then when he gets the opportunity, top of the key, we've seen it like 3 times already in the preseason, where he's snatching that ball and turning it into a fast break. He might have one of his best. I don't know if he could get defensive player of the year. I think, as well as he's going to play, it's gonna be about the team's defense, and then he might get the acknowledgement. But
Mhm.
he's looking like our best defensive player for sure, hands down. And and he's not taking a step back offensively. Like, he's moving forward. He's pushing. Mikal, he's got that assignment, it looks like, to guard the best guy. Um, it's gonna be a tough road for him to balance it. You know what I mean? To balance it. We've seen, the shot change, or the 0 for 10 from three. I think that fixes itself. You know what I mean? Eventually, I think, this year he's going to be tasked with probably taking the most threes he's ever taken in his career, like per game 3 pointers. So
Mhm.
I think that's going to be an adjustment in itself. But I think the shot will fall. Um, yeah, but he's been solid defensively. He's been playing the passing lane when he has the opportunity. He's been playing solid on ball defense. His mid range has not been a problem. You know what I mean? His cutting and his leak outs has been a staple as well.
Mhm.
So I like what I see from them both ends of the floor. I think they're gonna be a great two-way tandem, wing stop, locking down the perimeter, and making the job a little bit easier for Towns. You know what I mean? Where less penetration
Correct.
makes it less less of a burden on him to kind of protect the rim.
Yeah, for sure. You talked, I wasn't even that aware of this, but when we were talking before we went live, you were talking about the criticism that Mikal Bridges is, is getting because of his lack of shot making. Um, it seems like as Knick fans, we always got to have somebody, we got to have somebody we're down on. And, there's a potential, for the fan base to turn on Mikal because we gave up 5 first-round draft picks. Towns
OG.
because we traded Randall, and for someone who's making much more money than Randall would have made had he signed even a max extension, and OG Anunoby, who signed a $212 million contract and is oft injured. Shout out to OG Anunoby. This is his
Ambulance.
yeah. But you could play that for Towns and Mitchell Robinson, you know, um, as well. You spoke about it a bit earlier with Towns. Any concerns that the fan base turning on any one of those guys impacts their play?
um, I'm not. It's a concern with Towns, because I think he has the biggest. You know what I mean? He has the big. Who does it? One of these I think Hoop Collective, or one of these guys. They do like Blame Pie or something. Or
Mhm.
no, Knicks Film School, I think it is. They do Blame Pie. Like, he has the biggest slice of Blame Pie potentially. You know what I mean? Because of the salary, because um he has this same, over the 5 years, last 5 years, he has that same type of injury concern, and games played as an OG, or I think he played less than Chris Stapps is the stat that's been thrown out there. So, risk wise, I think he has the biggest um concern right now. It seems like the fans are on Bridges. You know what I mean? They did the meme with the fans working arguing at the Washington game, talking about, oh, you gave five picks five picks for him. You told me he was good, and that's what they was arguing about. They calling him Mikal Brickage. You know what I mean? Like they going crazy on him right now. So he's number one. But yeah, OG. I don't think it affects OG. I don't think it affects Bridges as much. Like he's played in New York already, not New York, but in the city, Brooklyn. You know what I mean? Like he's dealt with criticism over there,
Mhm.
and he's not gonna be at the same level of expectation in Brooklyn that he is here. You know what I mean? So I think even though he's the one getting it right now, I think the biggest concern would be with Towns, like I mentioned earlier. Like we don't know how he deals with that. Like that's one thing about Randall. I've said this numerous times. He been through the fire of New York and the lowest point, you know what I mean, after the thumbs down and bounce back from that. Like I don't know that there's many players that could do that. Now maybe Towns isn't the guy that's gonna do a thumbs down, but he's still gonna get the highest level of criticism he's ever seen if he's not performing and we're not doing well.
Yeah. I will say though that before the bounce back from Randall, if you would have polled people and said, "Do you think Randall would bounce back for something like this?" I think a lot of people would have said no, because a lot of people saw him as sensitive and uh but they would have been wrong because when it actually happened, he did.
We spoke about that at the time. I was one of the. You're right. Most people was off him. You know what I mean? Some of the people that were high on him prior to it was off him. But you're right. Most people didn't believe it. I was on record saying he bounced back after the poor playoff performance,
Mhm.
and you know what I mean? Like, so I was on record like he's gonna do it again.
Yeah.
He's gonna
I
do it
wanna
again.
I wanna, there's a few comments in the chat that I wanna get your opinion on before we move to the bench. So, we didn't talk about the young guys as we talked about the preseason, but we will talk about them when it comes to the bench because it looks like given the injuries and the Knicks not signing anyone, at least as of yet, that some of our young guys will um, be filling in on the bench. So we'll have an opportunity to talk about them in the next segment. But I just want to get your thoughts on these three comments from the chat. Shout out to Quiet Money. I'm sorry, folks. Don't want to seem like a Randall Stan, but I feel like we've lost some of our identity with the trade and the loss of Hartenstein and Devo as well. Nothing we could have done about Hartenstein though. Do you feel like the Knicks lost? First of all, what is the Knicks? What do you think the Knicks identity was or is? Do you think we've lost it with the trade?
Let me first shout out Sim because he when he did his first pod back, or you know what I mean, after that was talking about the trade. That was his comments as well, like verbatim, lost part of that identity with that trade. um I again, I wasn't high on the trade, but I wouldn't go that far as the identity, because I think the identity starts with Tibbs. You know what I mean? Like, and yes, did they match well and mesh well together? Was he a great fit for Tibbs and that identity? Yes, but I mean, and yeah, they're saying a part of, so not the identity in itself. But I think Tibbs is gonna get the best out of who's on this team. You know what I mean? Like that's something that is been shown. You know what I mean? Like guys have their best seasons under Tibbs. Like there's all that narrative of people not playing, wanting to play for him. But if you look at the stats and you look at the records, guys have their best careers under him. So I think that's the identity. Um
Right.
and Devo, you made me remember how I was feeling when IQ was traded uh, with RJ. That's how a lot of people felt when Devo was included in the Randall trade. So I gotta give you guys some grace because you know what I mean, now that I understand how y'all was feeling. But I've been on record again. Devo had a breakout year. You know what I mean? This is not this is not who he was from years past. Like, can he be that? Continue to be that? Absolutely. But again, to my point with Tibbs and the identity, I think Tibbs had a large part to do with that. You know what I mean? Like, not giving him all the credit. Devo did the work. You know what I mean? Got the results. But I think Tibbs is capable of bringing that kind of stuff out of the next guy up. So,
Yeah. And to your point, I wonder how much of it is the system. I'm not taking anything away from Devo. I was targeting him in my fantasy league because I think, you know, they're playing him at point guard. So I think we're going to see Minnesota is going to see a bit more from him than even with the Knicks. But when you think about Evan Fournier breaking the 3-point record, then Devo coming breaking the 3-point record, it might have. I'm not sure if I'm missing someone. Part of, if you're a 3-point shooter, there is room for you in this offense to have a breakout year if you can shoot. Deuce McBride loading, right?
yep.
Deuce McBride loading. So, you know, to that particular point, some of it is the offense and the opportunity as well. And to your point, obviously, Devo had to take advantage of it, and he did. You know, my answer to quiet money when it comes to our identity, it depends on what you think our identity was. Um, I
I'm
think on
hearing a lot of toughness
right,
versus finesse.
okay. To me, that's just stylistic stuff. I don't know if that's our like. Do you think our identity is our offensive identity, or is our identity the mental toughness, the next guy up, play 48 minutes, sacrifice for the team, do
Do
what's
what it
asked of
takes to
you,
win. Yeah,
do what it takes. If that's our identity, none of that has changed.
that's Tibbs.
That's
It's
it.
all
That's
about
our culture.
Tibbs.
That's our culture. That has not changed. Stylistically, how we change, yeah, but I don't think our identity is our style on offense. I don't think that's the Knicks' identity. Um, so yeah, our style has changed on offense, but
and
our
even
culture, no, that
and
didn't.
even as I mean, quiet money. You saying physicality? I see a lot of people
Mhm.
saying like the toughness. You know what I mean? Versus finesse. I think Tibbs, he demands that of you as well. You know what I mean? Like you don't think anything changed from Hartenstein and his style of play here versus, you know what I mean, like what he did in the past. Like he I think he played a little bit tougher here. Now,
Right.
I mean, unless they're attributing that to, Randall kind of getting that out of him, but I don't think that was the case. You know what I mean? Like I think it's demanded. So I think we'll see a little bit more physicality out of Cat than we're used to. You know what I mean? Or than perspective. I think Precious is another guy. Like, he's tough. He plays with that physicality. So it's not. It's Cat as physical as Randall? No, but to your point, I think it's more stylistic. It's still gonna be toughness. It's still gonna be do what it takes to win. It's still gonna be go get those rebounds. You know what I mean? Like, it's those things are staples of the philosophy. So I don't think that changes at all.
Yeah, and for some people, toughness is barreling into the lane and backing somebody down and dunking over them. That's what they see as physicality and toughness. Toughness for me is missing a free throw and then coming back and hitting it. Toughness for me is getting that key rebound that we need. Toughness for me is missing a key shot and then coming back and knocking it down. That's
Or
toughness for
turning
me.
the ball over and then go getting a chase down block.
Correct.
You know
Correct.
what I mean?
Not giving up on the play. Like that's toughness for me. Cat is gonna be Cat. He's not gonna be Randall. And I think if you're expecting him to be Randall, you're gonna be disappointed. And if you're a Minnesota fan and you're expecting Randall to be Cat, you're gonna be disappointed. Like, allow
Yeah.
those guys to be who they are.
Except what they bring. Like
Right.
that was the main thing for me. Like
Right.
I wasn't high on the trade. I wasn't a Cat fan, but I got to look at what he brings. You know what I mean? So even with him not shooting the ball well, he wasn't left wide open. People have to guard him. They have to leave the paint to you know what I mean? They know what he's capable of. Like you mentioned, the passing. It's to me, I don't think it's as good as Hartenstein, but I
Mm-hmm.
also think Hartenstein developed that precision
Mm-hmm.
throughout the season. You know what I mean? Like when he first started doing those passing, we was talking about potential, but we were seeing a lot of missed ones. You know what I mean? Like he
Mm-hmm.
zigs, you thought he was gonna zag. So all that comes with practice and learning your teammate. So I think that's gonna get better. It hasn't been spot on, but I think it's gonna get better.
Yeah, I actually think he's a very good passer. I think he's just as good a passer as Randall, in my opinion. Now, he's not somebody that's going to bring the ball up and initiate the offense. What I'm talking about passing is once you're in your half court
Mm.
sets, is he somebody, if somebody cuts to the lane, can he make that pass? If he's double teamed and somebody is open in the corner, can he make that pass? You can
That's a good
actually
point.
you could do pick and rolls with him, and he can be the ball handler, and he can make that pass off the roll. And when Robinson gets back, he can hit the bigs for the lob because he did that with Gobert a lot. Like I
No,
said earlier, they did big to big pick and rolls.
you're spot on because I'm looking at it. I'm looking at his potential of playmaking, like you said, where he doesn't do. Like
Right.
he's, you know
He
what I
not
mean. But I think he has that in him. Like I've seen him try to work that in the preseason. It's
mhm,
just about chemistry now in
right.
those senses. You know what I mean. But yeah, half court, I think he's spot on.
Yeah. Like there was some and what I was surprised in the preseason, Tony, I saw a few plays where he was passing people into a shot. And they like one time Brunson cut and he passed it to Brunson, and I don't think Brunson was aware, and it went out of. I'm like, what?
That's what I'm talking
I'm
about.
like, you making those types of passes where he's passing you into a shot, not just somebody is open and you able to locate and hit them. There's a
And
difference.
not for nothing. Um, Vice versa. You know, when you ask me about like some of the positive, the Brunson Cat pick and roll, phenomenal. Like that's a game changer in itself. Probably more than just the paint being open because that's something you can actually go to. You know what I mean? Night
Right.
in and night out for. I mean, we've seen it 3 out of 4 possessions at one point
Yes.
in one game.
Yes, we
So
did.
that's one thing. I lost my train of thought on the other point, but yeah.
Yeah, yeah. We don't. I don't think we run inverted pick and rolls, but you can run an inverted pick and roll with Cat and Brunson, where Brunson flares now and can get a catch and shoot opportunity. We haven't seen it, or if they did do it, I didn't see it, but that possibility is there. So yeah, shout out to Andrew K. Cat is a decent passer. I think he's more than a decent passer, and as the offense starts getting a bit more fine tuned and clicking a bit more, we're going to see more of that. There were times in his earlier in his career where he averaged, I think, 2 seasons. One, it was 4.8 assists, and another
Hmm.
time 4.9 assists, if I'm not mistaken, per year. Um, Cat actually plays both ends of the court, offense and defense. Shout out to Greg. This was the complaint in Minnesota. Like after the trade, I actually went to listened to some Minnesota content creators, and you would have thought they were talking about Randall if you close your eyes, right? And one of the things they said was that, yeah, he can play defense when he wants to. And that's the same complaint we had about Randall when he was locked in. Um, against the Durants, against the Tatums, the Jalen Browns, you saw his, on ball defense. Other times, you know, not so much. And that was that's been the same complaint about Cat when he was in Minnesota. That semifinal series against the Joker, he held Joker to I don't have the percentages, but it wasn't he was inefficient when
Hmm.
Cat was guarding him. So we know he has that potential. It's it's about the willingness. It's about the willingness, and to be able to do it um consistently. Any thoughts on that?
Um, the, I mean, number one, I think he's gonna have a defensive advantage just being a 7-footer. So there's that. Um, my concern, and I don't know if this was live or because we was talking for a while before went live, but I'm more concerned with his defense or like him fouling on the perimeter than in the post. You know what I mean? Like I think his defense in the post is pretty solid. You know what I mean? Like he can stand his ground against most guys. I know you mentioned him getting pushed around against some of the bigger guys, but
Mhm.
yeah, you can't teach 7 feet, and he got that. And I think he's like, if we're just talking about who's the better defender, yeah, I give it to Cat, and under Tibbs, he's had his best defensive year, so I think he's gonna improve in that area. Not worried.
Yeah, for sure. Let's get to the bench. You know, there was concerns after the trade, right? Because we had Devo. It seemed like Devo and Hart was going to lead our bench, and McBride as well. Now Hart is in the starting lineup. Devo was in Minnesota, and it's McBride. Um, and we hope McBride, and there's no indications that he won't, will continue his his development. Cam has come through for us and looks like he's going to be more than situational. I've actually been pretty pleased with his play. Um, Precious has taken a step, in my opinion. Looked better than last season. Hit a few 3-pointers. Um, Put the ball on the floor, drove to the back. Just look. I don't know if that's skill he already had, and now he's just more confident. But he's looked good as well. Now he's going to be out with a hamstring injury for a few weeks. And Shamet, who I was high on for his shooting and just being a veteran, is out. You know, so now the bench is looking a little thin, and it looks like we're gonna have to you know, count on one or two of our rookies. I don't think it'll be Kolick, as we was talking before. Not that he's not capable, but because of campaign and Bridges. So probably Daddy A and Huck Porty. But before we get to just the bench itself, just what have you seen from our young guys and yeah, your expectations if they have to move into a bench role?
Um, well, I let me shout you out because you was definitely high on Cam's campaign's arrival. I wasn't, but every game he showed me more and more like I like this guy. I think he potentially could be a fan favorite. You know what I mean? Like he could finish both hands, like he could penetrate, he could shoot. Like he he he's a solid backup point guard. Like solid. Um, Deuce looks like he's ready to take another step. I think he looks like he added a little bit to his game. Um,
Handle is tighter.
yeah, handles a little bit tighter. You know what I mean? Haven't seen much penetration to the rim from him in this preseason, but the shot still looks solid. And like I
He's a
said,
floater. He's not gonna
yeah,
go lay it up, but he
yeah,
does have the
yeah,
floater.
yep, yep. Um, yeah, defense still what it is. So I think he's ready to kind of solidify himself and take another leap. Maybe he looks at the um DiVincenzo being gone and saying I could fill that void a little bit. Maybe he looks at Shaman being gone and saying I have to fill this void a little bit. So maybe we're seeing, more 3-point attempts from him.
Mhm.
But yeah, I think he's ready to make another leap. And then Sims has been underwhelming, I'll be honest, like especially considering a lot of the talking points And this ain't from Knicks fan. This is like from his team. You know what I mean? His the Knicks and his team just saying it's the first opportunity he had for a training camp. He's first time he's healthy. He's working on this. He's working with this guy. You know what I mean? Mike Bibby. So I think all that being said, he hasn't shown much more than anything that we've seen from him. But he has been a solid rebounder. I gotta give him credit where credit's due. I think he gets the first nod. He gets that first crack in the rotation. But for me, I feel like Huck Porty um eventually outshines him and kind of gets elevated into that backup role. Precious was on a tear, you know what I mean, before the hamstring. So I'm confident whenever he comes back, we'll be good. Like like he looked like he was gonna lead the team in minutes as far as off in the second unit. Like so, yeah, speedy recovery for him. Um, I like what I seen from Kolick in his minutes. You know what I mean? Like he's been a playmaker, high IQ. You know what I mean? He has some bad shooting nights, but he has some good shooting nights as well. Like he's not gonna hesitate to shoot the three, so that's good. He don't look scared or nervous. Like he looked like he's ready to perform when the opportunity is given to him, whether it's you know what I mean 10 minutes or 20 minutes. He looks like he ain't gonna be any different. High IQ. And Dadier, man, he showed out. Didn't play the first 2-3 games and came in, dropped 16 points in the quarter. The shot looked good. We didn't see that in summer league.
Right.
And then to come out and just do something that was on your scouting like on your scouting report for the summer. Like, all right, we know he's a shooter. He's a big 6'8" guy. You know what I mean? He didn't show none of that in summer league. He was shooting bricks and then come out. It looks like, he got the reps in practice. He got the training camp stuff and he looked like he found himself. And he looked like happy out there. He wasn't like not happy. Like Brunson, like he didn't show any kind of emotion, like no celebrations. It's like I'm out here, I'm doing my job. This is what I'm out here to do. Shout out to Sim. I know he's super high on him, but yeah, he looked like he could come in the minutes that he's given, and at that age, you know what I mean. He got the window to kind of sky's the limit on who he becomes.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. And given the injuries, I think we're gonna see some Daddy A. I think we're gonna see some some Huck Porty. And it's gonna be interesting to see, what they're able to give us in the regular season. The Knicks have, seems like they're not gonna fill Shamet's spot unless something changes. I think they're going into the season with 12. They have yet to. There was thoughts about them turning Huck Porty's contract into a standard contract. I don't think that's happened yet. If it has, somebody let me, somebody let me know. And so, those guys may be in the rotation to start. And shout out to you. The point you was making before we went live is that we're not asking a lot from them. We're just asking them to come in and do the little things, right? Which is a little different than when Grimes was here. It was like he was the starting shooting guard, and there was no era for him to be a young player, which is to be up and down. Like we need you to hit these shots so we can win this game. And I think the Knicks, at least the starting unit, is pretty stacked. And so we just need these guys just to come in, you know, for Huck Porty, grab rebounds, don't give up offensive rebounds, score around the paint, when you get the opportunity. Daddy A, the same thing, play really good defense. If you get an open shot, take it, hit it, at a decent clip. I think we're not counting on them, but whatever contributions they can give us will be good.
And Jacob Toppin is on a standard contract, correct? He's not on.
Think
He's,
so.
He's one of the two-way guys.
Yeah,
It's McCullough, Huckporty,
yeah,
and Toppin.
yeah.
Well, Toppin was, um, he was above Huckporty and Thaddeus on the depth chart. You know what I mean? Coming from summer league to starting the preseason, he
Mhm.
was above them in the depth chart. By the end of the summer league, I mean, by the end of the preseason, he dropped in the depth chart. You know what I mean? Like, so
Right.
those guys already leapfrog somebody with NBA experience. You know what I mean? With experience under Tibbs, knowing what I mean, what his potential role is or whatever the case. And they already jumped ahead of him in the pecking order.
Right. But some of that is their play, but some of that is you're going to always prioritize guys that you drafted. Obi Toppin, if I'm not mistaken, was a free agent signing, and I'm not sure how much they see him down the line being a part of this team. I do think they see Huck Porty and Daddy A down the line being a part of the team.
But that's based off practice. That's based off play. That's based off all of that. Because if you look at what Tibbs does, you know what I mean? Like when a guy gets a year under their belt, and then they go into the next year, specifically like from rookie year to sophomore year, and then you look at the the summer league, their seniority means something when it comes to the pecking order of, you know what I mean, who's your role. So that's all I'm saying. Like, because we
Was
seen
that the case with a Charlie Brown and a Dwayne Washington, who was also here before?
it was when it came to summer league. You know what I mean? Like they had seniority. You know what I mean? We seen it even this year in some of like the guys who had the experience under Tibbs and under the system, they had the seniority. Now it was up to the new guy, the rookie per se, to kind of outplay them. I think that's what we've seen from summer league to preseason. I think that's what we've seen.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's part of it. I just think that, let's just say Charlie Brown and Dwayne Washington was on this team, they would not have had a chance for the rotation over a Daddy A or Huck Porty. I don't see it, but maybe, maybe. Um, should the Knicks wait for Shamet, or do you think they should try to find a replacement? These first 10 games is going to be pretty tough. And now you're looking at running maybe
Um,
one, maybe two starters with that second unit.
I don't think they should, because if you make a move now, it locks you in. You know what I mean? Like you mentioned it off air, the flexibility of it. You
Mhm,
know what I mean? I don't think Shamet makes it back, to be honest, just based off of the injury and comparing. It looked the same as Randall. You know what I
mhm,
mean? So yeah, even with the waiting to do the recovery and seeing if that is the route.
mhm,
Um, when Randall was potentially supposed to come back, it was 2 months later. You know what I mean? Like before it even got announced, all right, we going the surgery route.
mhm.
So I think, I mean, granted, everybody's different, every person's different. So maybe he recovers fast, but I just don't see a path for him, for the Knicks to kind of wait it out longer than, like you said earlier, they're not going to miss out on an opportunity if the opportunity arises.
Right,
You know what I mean? So if nothing happens in between, that's in their back pocket. Go
right.
ahead, keep recovering, keep doing. You know what I mean? But we're not stopping. We're not going to stop a move from happening if it happens. But the same could be said with T.J. Warren. They're not going to sign him now and lock themselves in. He's another guy that, go to Westchester. We got you in the back pocket. You know what I mean? If things transpire throughout the season and we need you, we know you right there and available. So I think TJ Warren has the opportunity to get signed before Shamet, in the sense that Shamet's up in the air because we don't know. You know what I mean? We don't know if he's going to be available immediately.
Right. Yeah, for sure. I think even if they hold the spot open and somebody else comes along, the Knicks are not going over the second apron.
Mm-mm.
So whoever they sign, whether they wait for Shamet, whether they sign another player to a vet minimum, they're going to do their best to ensure that they're not that they don't go. Well, first of all, you can't. They're hard capped at the second apron. They can't go over it, but they're going to make sure that they stay under it so that they have some flexibility to make some moves in December when they're able to move Precious. Though at this point, how he's playing, I think he's probably changing their mind about that. And then also at the trade deadline. So whether they wait for Shamet or not, then they're going to leave some space so that they can make some moves if they need to.
No, I agree 100%.
Yeah, two comments before we move on to Boston, and then we out of here. And then oh, it's already after one.
We're good. Us,
You know,
unless you got plans.
no. I'm free. You know, as you guys know, after this, transition right over to Knicks and Bruises for part 2. Probably be another 10 minutes after we end, right?
Yeah,
All right.
2 minutes.
All right. East Blue Drew. I got Pacome taking Sham's spot. He very well may, and I think this is where Tony and I disagree. Um, I'm I believe that through the course of a season, you're going to need everybody. So during the course of a season, Daddy A, Hawkporty, Kolick, they're going to all give you good minutes and good moments, right? Even in the playoffs, you may get good minutes and good moments from them. You're going to need everybody. But where I think I differ from Tony is my preference is to have all vets in the rotation for 2 reasons. One, rookies are just historically inconsistent. You know, that's just the nature of being a young player in the NBA. It takes years to become consistent. And if you're a championship contending team, you want to try to build a roster where there's as much as you can, you got players that understand what it is to play in the NBA, and hopefully they're a bit more consistent at this point in their career. So don't get me wrong, these guys are going to give you good minutes throughout the course of a year. But if you're really serious about winning a championship, as much as possible, you do want to have vets at every position in your rotation. And the second reason is you want rookies to have a chance to make mistakes. You don't want to put them in position where, you know, we're really counting on you and we really need you to be consistent. Like I feel like that's not fair to them. Like they need to go through the ups and downs. I think that's what happened with Grimes. You know, we were complaining that he was inconsistent, but he was a third-year player who had a lot of injuries, so he was still young. Of course, he's going to be inconsistent. That's just the nature of being a young player. But we had him in the starting lineup, and we were living and dying with, you know, with his shooting because we needed him to knock down shots. It's just not a great place to be in if you're a rookie. You want to have that room to grow and make mistakes, right? So, listen, at the beginning of the season, the Knicks are trying to keep their flexibility. I believe Hawkporty is going to play. I believe Daddy is going to play. The only reason Kolick might not play is because McBride and who's that? Payne is probably ahead of him at this point. But as the season goes along, the Knicks really do have to start locking up their rotation spots as we enter the playoffs with guys with experience. That's just going to give you the best chance to win. So yes, East Blue Drew. I do think initially Pacome Daddy will probably he has a chance. Tibbs may decide to run with both Bridges and OG Anunoby in that second unit. But your thoughts, Stone?
Um, I mean, I think he has a great shot because what he does is he brings size to that spot, right? To that three spot. You know, Shamet was playing the three, with Deuce and with Cam on the floor. So I think now it brings size to that position on the bench. I think potentially, you know what I mean, the shooting is going to be the staple. If he could come in and just kind of hit open shots, you know what I mean, knock down the open shots, then yeah, he could solidify himself there. Um, and then the fact that he, you know, both him and Hart are off ball players, so they're not going to be given the ball and saying go create. The job becomes a little bit simpler. You got guys, you got Cam on the floor with him who could create for him. You know what I mean? Now it's about utilizing that basketball IQ, which I think he has a good one. Now it's about, you know, positioning. And somebody I'm not even familiar with, did a video on Pakun, just pointing out how he's always repositioning himself based off how the ball is moving, you know, from on the floor. That's one of those basketball IQ things that I'm referencing. Like
Right.
he you know what I mean, with him not being having the ball in his hands and being that type of player that just finds the open seams, whether it's on the perimeter or backdoor cuts and that nature, he's gonna be able to find a role, and it's not gonna be like necessarily being thrown into the fire because of the style of play that the guy plays with. So the biggest thing is just hitting open shots. You know what I mean? You do that, he has a great shot. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's gonna be a different on the defensive end because that's where I think the bigger learning curve will be. You know, being a rookie and making mistakes and things of that nature. I think it'll be more detrimental on the defensive end, that learning curve. But yeah, I think he has a shot for sure.
Okay. All right. And Keith Turner, Daddy A is shooting a better percentage than Bridges. Hey, listen, Bridges is going to be fine. Bridges is an NBA player. He's had, well, so is Daddy A, but he's a veteran NBA player. He has experience in this league as a number 3 option with Phoenix and a number 1 option in Brooklyn. And we're not even asking him to be that. It's going to take him some time to find his flow in the offense, and his shot is going to be fine. I think it's way, way too early to be concerned about Mikal Bridges. You know, Daddy A is shooting better. Okay. You know, good for him. But I know we're not, you know, thinking that he's going to be a better player than Mikal Bridges this season. So Knick family, relax. Mikal is going to be fine. Your any thoughts on that, Tone? You're muted.
Pardon me. I think over time the shot will find itself.
Yeah.
You know, he's still been solid at the mid range. You know what I mean? Solid with the leak outs and easy baskets. The defense has been there. So, you know what I mean? There's shooting slumps. There's this thing called shooting slumps. Like let's chalk it up to that. And we've seen it from Hart before. We've seen it from, you know, multiple players in the NBA over the years. I'm gonna chuck it up to a shooting slump right now. But the shot does look different. You know what I mean? But he's working on it.
Yeah.
He's admitted it too. He said he's. I mean, his quote was he's been working on it for 7 years. So.
And you know, as we talked about earlier, I have no concerns about him if the fans start getting on him, having a hard time dealing with that. I think he's gonna be fine.
Is it him particular though? I mean, like, because I don't know if you said how you feel like about the 3 guys we spoke about. Do you think it affects any of them?
I don't
Towns
think
is
it affects
the
OG
main
at
guy.
all. I
Yeah,
don't think it affects OG at
Towns
all.
is the main guy. You know what I mean?
OG probably won't even know. You might be like, who? What? Oh, really? Mikal, no. Towns, I don't know. Only because you hear about this soft stuff. But again, I don't know if people are saying that because of his game or because of his mentality, because I don't know him as well. But if you put my feet to the fire, I would say it probably would affect Towns the most. But I could be wrong. Walter White, appreciate the super chat. Appreciate you rocking with us. Fans need to relax. It's all about how you finish. Salute to the chat and hit the like button. There's going to be some growing pains, I think, with this team. First, because the team is just new to each other, and because of the turnover in the bench already so close to the season, right? We were playing with Shamet, playing with Precious, and 2-3 days before the season, Shamet is gone, Precious is gone. So it's going to be some growing pains. Are you? Do you see yourself with future casting here panicking if there's some growing pains? Say the Knicks get out to a 4-6 start, or do you feel like that's just par for the course? To Walter White's point, it's not how you start, it's how you finish. The Knicks will be fine.
No, I think he's spot on. Spot on. It's a marathon.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm not tripping if the Knicks don't get off to a great start, but I'm gonna stay strong because I know as content creators we're gonna have to do a lot of damage control. Um, and then, from the chat and what have you. I think the Knicks are gonna be fine, and I agree with Cody. Rookies should be extra seasoning, not the base flavor. And rookies can contribute. Don't get me wrong. You just don't want to be in a position where you have to count on them game in and game out. But through the course of a season, I feel really good about the rookies we have. And I feel really good about the Knicks finally filling in the back end of the roster. 2-3 years down the line, these guys could be in the rotation and could even be starting, right? So kudos to the Knicks for that. All right, before we get out of here, just quickly, first game on Boston, how you feeling about it? The Knicks will be witnessing their ring ceremony as well. First game really playing, obviously, for everybody in the NBA, this is when it starts to count. Just your quick thoughts on the Knicks game versus Boston.
I go back and forth. Like sometimes I'm like, yeah, we about to spoil a ring ceremony. You know what I mean? Take them. Why they taking us lightly, like getting their rings. We got a advantage, but I don't want to discredit them as coming in and having a chip on their shoulder and wanting to prove that last year wasn't a fluke. What I will say is, we kind of match up well against them. They're dealing with some injuries. We're dealing with some injuries. You know what I mean? But I think we squeak this one out. I think we squeak this one out. I do. I'm going with 1-0 to start the season.
Wow, nice. I'm not sure what the outcome is going to be. I'm more interested in the process. Like I'm really interested in Mikal Bridges and OG Anunoby on the time that they spend on Brown and Tatum. I'm sure they're going to mix it up. Hart will probably get some time as well. So I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to see how Campaign and McBride does in that second unit. Who's Tibb running with that second unit? Is he running just one starter or two? With the second unit. So that's going to be interesting. You put my feet to the fire. I don't think the Knicks, I hope they win, but if I had to put money on it, I would probably say they don't. I mean, there could be an emotional hangover from the ring ceremony as far as Boston is concerned. I just feel like the Knicks have some things they need to get together in that starting unit and that bench. And if they're able to pull it off despite that, I would be super duper happy. Anyway, that's all I have. I just want to give a shout out to the chat, Quiet Money, JJ, East Blue Drew, Wiz in the house. What's up, Wiz? It's been a minute. Randu 1973. I'm not sure if this is your first time. If it is, welcome. If it's not, welcome back. Andrew K. East, is that Esco of Harlem? I don't know if I got that right. I appreciate you, Coach, in the building. I appreciate you, Jerrell. Dope Soul Sports Talk and New York Giants Podcast Live, or New York Giants Live Podcast. We lose tomorrow, fans gonna go nuts. Yeah, it's real early, but you're right about that. Snipes Entertainment. Sharon was in the house. I appreciate you, Sharon. Sharon is not happy about this trade for Cat, and a lot of us wasn't happy. Not me, but a lot of fans weren't happy with the OG trade. But over time, OG won them over. So, hopefully Cat does the same thing. Keith Turner, I appreciate you. A lot of action. Double D is in that building early. Mike Boy, Walter White, appreciate you, and the super chat. Jess Nix, Damian Cox, Darlene Bryant. If I missed anybody, my apologies. Me and Tony will figure out. The season starts tomorrow. I'm doing Queen's Court tonight. So that's where I got my start, on a Nothing But Knicks channel. Another season. Me, Tony, from obviously Knicks and Bruises, Geoff from Dope Soul Sports Talk, and the happily ever Klafter blog. Check that out. And then also Lady and the Chef from Two Knicks Chicks. So, and whenever DJ Shuttle can drop in, he'll drop in. So that's Queen's Court tonight, every Monday night, 7:30 to 9. Check us out. And then I'll be back with the Knicks recap after every Knick game. I used to do it in the morning, but I'll be doing that on your lunch break, sometime between 12:15 and 12:30, the day after the Knicks play. So Wednesday would be the first one. And then Tony and I will figure out, maybe we do a weekly live, maybe we do a monthly lunchtime live. I'm leaning toward weekly, but I don't know. He has a busy schedule, so we'll see, and we'll keep you posted. But we definitely appreciate you rocking with us every. It's been weekly, so actually it would continue to be weekly if we decide to do it.
I think we could pull it off. We could pull it off.
All right, I think we could pull it off too. The dates may shift depending on if I have if I'm doing a recap, show. And we might have to do it every other week on different. I don't know if I'm gonna have 2 hours every week, but we'll see. We'll figure it out. But don't go anywhere. 10 minutes from now, we're going over to Knicks and Bruises and to continue our conversation about the New York Knicks as we get ready for this. Is it a championship or bust season? I think we have something to say about that. Anything else, Tone?
Nah, I'm setting up as we speak. I will see you guys in about 10 minutes. Right. Peace, Queen. Shout out to the chat. Your blackest time. Replay gang, like Queen likes to say.
Replay gang. Appreciate you. Shout out to the New York Liberty WNBA champs. First championship for that franchise, and their 28 years of being in the WNBA, and the first basketball championship in 51 years or something like that. So the Knicks about to take care of that, we hope. Until next time.
Sister, you one of a kind.
Yes.
Sister, it's time you
That's
shine. Don't so.
Where you at? Where you at?
Don't so.
Where you at? Where you at?
Don't so.